In Washington, details of the national security bill that has sparked months of tense negotiations could be released today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the bill combines measures to bolster border security and funding for Ukraine and Israel. Despite recent progress towards a bipartisan deal, some Republican opposition to the immigration policies could still threaten the final vote. Joining us now with the latest on this potential border deal is Scott MacFarlane. Scott, it's great to see you. What could be significant about the details of this bill, and could this be enough to sway votes for Senator Schumer's potential floor vote next week?
There's a lot of big things about this bill, and if you think about it, it really can be considered a landmark piece of legislation, and we could see it in the next 72 hours. It combines two very difficult, very big things. Not just the border security legislation that's been discussed, the first such a bill in a generation, but also all this money for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Tens of billions of dollars that the Biden administration has said is so important they needed that money at the end of 2023. Here we are in February, and we possibly could see the bill by the weekend. Two difficult things at once. Border security, potentially one of the thorniest, trickiest issues for Congress to legislate on, which is why it only happens once or so in a generation. There are also huge wedge issues inside that proposal. Should there be restrictions tightening on amnesty requirements? Should there be the ability for the administration, future presidents, to just stop border crossings altogether when there's a surge? But the national security money is also rife with wedge issues, Meg and Anne-Marie. There are any number of Republicans, and a growing number of them, who simply don't support spending more money in Ukraine. They say their constituents don't want it. They don't believe the money is going to good ends, that it's potentially at risk of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they don't believe that Ukraine has set an exit strategy or a plan to win. All of this is going to be cobbled together in the same bill set for release by Sunday. There is no clear path for the votes to get this through either the Senate or the House. The supporters of it think, Anne-Marie and Meg, you put it on the floor, you open debate, and you try to press it through.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not surprised, especially with the pressure that they're getting from former President Donald Trump. Speaking of the former president, as of yesterday, Trump's March 4th trial date for his role in the 2020 election interference case has been dropped from the public calendar of the federal court in Washington. This is the sort of thing his lawyers love because they keep wanting to push everything down the road. Why is this delay so significant, though?
Yeah, CBS News was first to report this. We saw it disappear from the public calendar of the D.C. federal courthouse about a week ago, and it did not reappear. There is this open review by the D.C. Federal Appeals Court of Donald Trump's argument that he is immune from prosecution through something he calls presidential immunity, that you can't be prosecuted for things you did that are considered official acts. They had oral arguments at the appeals court over this, and the ruling from the appeals court could come at any moment. But in the meantime, the trial date here in Washington in this election conspiracy case, though tentatively set for March 4th, is now very much in question. That it disappeared from the trial calendar is an indication the court is prepared for the possibility it could slide well into 2024. And then, Meg and Anne-Marie, a different complication. The closer you get to Election Day, the less inclined the Department of Justice historically has been to go forward with a criminal trial of somebody who's on the ballot. That becomes a question. How far down can you slide it in 2024 before it's too late? Exactly the MO of Trump's lawyers. Buy time, delay, try to get all these criminal matters pushed till after November.
And just sort of as a point of clarification, this is kind of more of a tradition, right, from the Justice Department as opposed to a rule that they have to follow.
That's right. It's customary. They're not legally bound. And of course, there can be exceptions made in this case. It is unique. There's never been anything like it before. But there's also the possibility the appeals court comes back and says, no, this presidential immunity idea is no good. Go back to the district court and have your trial. Sure, there'll be appeals of that from Trump's team if it happens, but they could get the trial right back on the calendar for later in the spring.
All right, Scott, thank you.